back on the Exit 52 podcast, instant analysis brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Thursday night, Friday morning, 12:21 a.m., whatever you want to call it. My name is Jake Louque. I'm joined by Spenny, Week 1 Spen. I'm joined by Mr. Barstool Banks, who is currently reading Don't Jump. I don't know if I've ever heard that one. I'm not sure. Maybe you'll have to send a copy of that over to me at some point. But boys, we are here for the first Ravens instant analysis of the 2024 NFL season. Ravens go into Kansas City and they come up a toe short. One single toe. Maybe it was two toes. Honestly, we can't really see behind the cleat there. Isaiah Likely back of the end zone. Lamar Jackson doing his best. Prime Russell Wilson impression, spinning one way, spinning back the other, making a throw into the end zone. Likely not able to complete the catch all the way through. Ravens fall in this one 27-20. Lamar Jackson now 1-5, 1-6 against Patrick Mahomes. And here we are. Ravens have lost to the Chiefs yet again. That certainly stings. I know for my part, I walked away from this game. I talked about it on the preview show. I talked about it in our preseason prediction pod that we did, Spenny, on the Jumbo set. I saw this team as kind of a 10-7 type deal, kind of a team that wild card race, if things break right, they can go and win the division. Saw it as a young team, one with offensive line issues, one with some things that are going to need to be worked out on defense. I think we saw some of that tonight, but for whatever reason, I'm walking away from this game feeling relatively encouraged, and I think a big part of that for me is Lamar Jackson, who played, I think, as well as we've probably seen him play in a game, and we've seen a lot of good ones from him, especially considering what he had to overcome with what the O-line was dealing with, but we'll get into all of that. Boys, how are we feeling tonight? Brian, we'll start with you.
I'm just kind of deflated. I came into this game with no expectation of getting any sort of real gratification from it. It's like, okay, cool. We go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. All right, very good. Like, what's that worth? Like, would have meant a lot in January, but cool. And if we go in there and lose, which we did, it's like, okay, we're 0-1. We still know that we're still chasing after the Chiefs, and even if we won, we're still chasing them because they're king of the mountain. So didn't really feel the need that if we were going to lose that game, like I didn't need to have my balls tickled the way that we did. I mean, it's just cruel. It's cruel. And there was no point during the game at all where it really felt like we had any real chance to win it until John Harbaugh's holding up the 2 and, 2-point conversion teams going out there or what have you, offense is staying out there. Just an incredible effort there by Likely and Lamar down the stretch. There's some bright spots along the way too, but ultimately they played 55 minutes of sloppy football. And the timeouts came back to bite them. That's part of it too. So, I guess big picture, I still know the Ravens are a very good football team and they're going to be in the mix late in the year and they're going to be chasing after 15 in Kansas City. And we're just going to have to scratch and claw and grind our way to hopefully get the opportunity to go back to that place. Because by losing this game, it's so early, obviously, but it's more likely than not, if we were to see them again, it would be in their barn. So we just got to pray for that opportunity again and don't play sloppy ass football.
Spenny, it's been a roller coaster of a week for you. You were just like JoJo the Indian Circus Boy early on. You were just all jacked up, just jacked to the tits. Then things took a turn for the worse. You were dealing with some sort of nebulous illness that we have yet to diagnose. It feels like you're fully back here. I'm not sure if you drank any beer in between now and then. I think you were flirting with the idea of breaking that fast that you were on. How are we doing?
Doing well. I was left wanting a little bit more football. I wanted to see that 2-point conversion and what that would have boiled down to, and maybe some of the takes that would have resulted from that. Wanted a little
the discourse
that we could have gotten out of whatever would have happened on that wacky play, especially with the 2 iterations of Ravens' 4th down play calling we saw, them trying to do the sneaky snake with Zay Flowers, and of course Steve Spagnuolo just happens to run some random fucking short yardage zone shit in the corner, does his job. And then Derrick Henry plunging forward, right? What are you going to do in that call? If Isaiah Likely's foot, as we're showing here, is a size 11.5 sneaker instead of a 13.5, then what are you going to get on that? So that would have been a delightful other way for this game to end. I do feel that Lamar Jackson, if we want to put it into Take City, outplayed Patrick Mahomes. I feel that Lamar Jackson was making a show, and especially late. And for where the Ravens were in that game, down 20-10, in a spot where, oh shit, the Chiefs can just score another touchdown. Suddenly they're up 17. You are dead, miserable with your Ravens jersey on and your flag in your hand and tears streaming down your face.
A little Homer Simpson situation.
Exactly. So I was pretty impressed with their ability to dig out of that. Super impressed with Isaiah Likely. Was there a lot of bullshit going on in terms of the illegal formations, in terms of sloppiness, in terms of, Jake, what did we talk about in the preview? Lamar trying to do a lot late at the line of scrimmage and kind of getting into that little dissension. Did Lamar look really fast, faster than last year, as fast as maybe we have seen him in the league in terms of what he can do with the football in his hands? Yes, all of those things. Zack Orr's defense, the offensive line, tons of things we can talk about. The one thing that I was very disappointed by was the blown coverage issue that Nate Tice tweeted out the dots. It looked like, and the communication was between Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton. Marlon Humphrey was playing cover 2. He was squatting. And we can go take a look at that and see if there was any reason for him to even squat. You need to know what the formation was. If there's a back over there, then yes. But if it's a true ISO and everybody stayed in, no, just run with the receiver anyway. But that was really disappointing. And I don't think that's on Zack Orr at all whatsoever. I mean, you've got how many veterans in the secondary? Whatever the call is, get it fucking right. Like you can't be leaving a guy streaking downfield. So I thought that kind of bailed the Chiefs out and put the Ravens in this situation. Maybe the Chiefs would have scored anyway, but that was really the one disappointing area. Did we get to see a ton of Derrick Henry? No. Did we get to see him early and get excited about him? Yes. But I was encouraged. I was encouraged by the Ravens facing that adversity early in the season, right? I think a stat came up that said they only trailed in the second half twice last year. So, hey, get those reps. Get that 2-minute shit. Get that, hey, Zay Flowers, I wanted you to maybe sit down. Lamar throws it behind him. Get all that shit into your brain now. Those are the demons that you need to overcome to beat a team like the Chiefs, who kind of were on cruise control, right? What did they do in this game? They got a couple matchups against the linebackers with Rashee Rice a couple times. Maybe Pacheco dropped a football that is a walk-in touchdown there. Xavier Worthy on a reverse, kind of a walk-in touchdown. Xavier Worthy on a blown coverage walk-in touchdown. I didn't come away feeling overly impressed with anything that the Chiefs did necessarily on offense, nor really on defense. They were disciplined defensively, and we'll get into it. I'll do all that film crap I always do, but I feel good about this one. I feel good about Lamar Jackson. I feel good about them knowing what they need to get going over the next couple of games here, and what they need to work on is they're going to get to play a game at home and sit back, have this early break, and then go play a Raiders team next week to work out and iron out a little bit of those kinks. And it's going to be a work in progress on that offensive line, and whatever changes are going to have to be ironed out as a result of Zack Orr and maybe some of the defensive personnel, Jadeveon Clowney, Patrick Queen, some of those guys missing. But yeah, like Brian said, I mean, the Ravens kind of, they do more to undo themselves, and then they have to do more to get back to square one. They are a little disorganized. They have some issues at the line of scrimmage, and those types of weird situations are calling a lot of timeouts early in the second half, those sorts of things, that disarray has not proven to be the prevailing victor in terms of winning in the playoffs, beating the Kansas City Chiefs, those kinds of things. So despite the Chiefs not looking fantastic, there's a reason they walked away victorious. They were not in disarray. They just kind of played some football and kept it calm, and Ravens a little more chaotic, almost got it done. But hey, it was an exciting game. I had fun. I'm ready for more football. Yeah,
I'm right there with you. A lot of stuff that you hit on that we're all going to get into proper. We do have joining us somewhat late here, Taylor Smyth, who, dealing with some camera issues, some mic issues. Looks like he might be in a little bit of a hostage situation. How are we doing down there, Big T?
No, I'm okay. I just don't know if my Wi-Fi is good at all. So you guys can tell me if it's good or not.
It seems like you're off to a hot start here.
Lovely. Great. Okay. I was not sure how that was going to go. Not in a hostage situation. I'm here in my childhood bedroom, actually sitting on the floor. So this is really, really an epic location to stream from week one. To talk about this football game, which is what people came for and not my situation on this evening here. I came in for the back half of Spenny's recap there. And I think the key part from my perspective was I feel excited about the Ravens' performance, even in a loss, considering the amount of self-inflicted kind of debilitating things they did to themselves. Obviously, the offensive line is clearly the most concerning piece of what we saw tonight, but they adjusted to be able to kind of deal with some of those limitations and figured out a way to drive the ball down against the Chiefs there to give yourself a chance to win the game at Arrowhead, which we'll see how many teams have that chance at Arrowhead the rest of the year. I mean, I think that sometimes gets lost. This Chiefs team has been so dominant there, and the Ravens were, despite some of the, mistakes and as Spenny put it, being in disarray at times, and the Chiefs playing a little bit of a calmer, cruise control-ish type of game, the Ravens gave themselves a chance to win at the end of the game, while not playing their best football in a variety of aspects. He's obviously at the head of the snake for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, to me, looked awesome for a lot of this game. I thought he was pretty in control. He didn't make a lot of bad decisions. Obviously, the miss in the end zone to Flowers will be talked about all tomorrow morning and tonight, and it's being talked about now. But he got them down there, and he made a great play at Isaiah Likely to get them in the end zone, to kind of give them the momentum to get back in the game when it felt like the game potentially could have been slipping away at that point if they don't do anything on that drive. I thought it was, obviously the crescendo week 1 performance for Lamar is the one against the Dolphins a few years ago. But I thought this was a very good look for Lamar week 1, playing really obviously no preseason games. So I was encouraged by that. I thought the defense looked solid. Obviously, some self-inflicted wounds there. The illegal formations, I'm sure, were making the fan base go crazy. And as Spenny said, we didn't necessarily get to see Derrick Henry unleashed in a game like this with how it kind of went. But the Ravens, the Ravens were there in the last minute of both halves with a chance to put the ball in the end zone that would have won them the game either way. And they just didn't get the ball, in the end zone, obviously. So I thought it was an encouraging performance. Obviously, don't need to do it's week 1, no one freak out. I don't think that's necessary to give that entire spiel. But I think this is one of the best teams in the league. I don't think we saw any reason to not think they're one of the best teams in the league. And they lost to the boogeyman. The Chiefs are just the boogeyman at this point. So I thought first of all, the NFL also, just as a general point, just never fails. I mean, what an opening game to, two of your 5 marquee players in Lamar and Mahomes, exciting plays, sloppiness, officiating getting involved, star-making performance for guys like Worthy and Likely on both sides. The league is just incredible. And as Spenny said, it just makes me want to watch more football. And now we just get another game tomorrow on Friday night, because eventually the NFL will play every day of the week.
Real quick, Jake, wanted to go over this real quick. Ravens had 25 first downs, Chiefs 21. Ravens were better on third down, converting 50% versus 44.4. Better on fourth down.
Long third down conversions, very impressive.
There were a few of them. Net yards, the Ravens outgained the Chiefs by 100. They outran the Chiefs by 113 yards. Really, turnovers were even. And yeah, I mean, it was as close of a game as you could have seen. It came down to the last second. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Big shout out to the Shield. I'm a huge Shield guy, as everybody knows.
Yeah, where's your NFL hat? I feel like you've got.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it in here. I can't find it. I can't. When you're in a hostage situation, it's a little hard to find.
Yeah, it's true. The people off screen are kind of making this sign at you.
Please, Roger, please. I'm praising the league.
Yeah, this to me, I mean, it feels to me like teams that are on 2 different levels of synchronicity that have similar levels of star power at the top. I think the Ravens could eventually get to where the Chiefs are, but the Chiefs, I look at them and they've got Kingsley Suamataya, who's a rookie starting there at left tackle. I thought he looked solid tonight. They've got Worthy. Obviously, they used him in interesting ways. He didn't really have to do a ton, I didn't think, tonight, and he looked great regardless. But they've just had guys that have been playing together for a while. That offensive line is very strong. They've been there for a while. Mahomes has been there for a while. Pacheco's been in the mix for a little bit now. Rashee Rice has been in the mix for a little bit now. They're going to add Hollywood Brown as a dynamic element. And obviously, Reed and that coaching staff has just been there for several years now. Ravens in a little bit of transition. We saw it with this offensive line. And, we see it with the fact now that Beckham is gone. They're trying to get Bateman into the mix a little bit more. Inconsistent tonight, but made a huge play, had another catch in this game. Isaiah Likely kind of, it feels like you don't necessarily want to make any predictions about Mark Andrews' future, but maybe they're going to be working Mark Andrews back in, and they've got the guy in Likely who's going to be taking over for him. But right now, it's just kind of like the Chiefs have just kind of been in cruising altitude for a couple of years here. And it feels like the Ravens are in a little bit more transition. But when I make that point about the top star and talent, that's going to be able to carry the Ravens through a lot of these games, I think. Lamar Jackson, if he can play like this or close to this every single week, they're going to have a chance to win every single game. So we'll see what happens. And I think we can start off by talking about that first drive, right? where it was kind of a microcosm of this game where you have these self-inflicted penalties. Ronnie Stanley getting picked on by Sean Hockley, who is a shell of his father, Ed Hockley, who was just a tremendous. You want to talk about bearers of the shield? That guy and those pipes that he had, on the side of the torso there, that guy was a tremendous carrier of the torch there for the shield. But Sean Hockley, not so much. He was just absolutely picking on Ronnie Stanley on that first drive in particular. I didn't even realize, by the way, that this illegal formation thing was going to be a point of emphasis. I got baptized by fire tonight because
I don't think anyone in the world did.
Yeah, and the broadcast was all over it. They were explaining it. I mean, Jawan Taylor on the other side, we'll get into that. But the first drive, just getting back to it, Ravens overcame that. They go right down the field. They're mixing in Henry. They're mixing in Lamar Jackson in the run game, couple quick passes, and then they just absolutely milked the clock. They took off half of the first quarter on that first drive, and they pounded in there with Henry. Spenny, we talked about it in the preview. That's what you need to do in these types of games. You need to kill the clock. You need to play with a deliberacy, if that is a word. You need to play with a sense of purpose, and you need to find a way to just milk it and keep yourself in the end. And I think ultimately, like I said, it's a microcosm. It didn't ultimately work out because they continue to shoot themselves in the foot too much. But just starting out with the first drive, I'm sure, Brian, you love that. You love to pound the rock. You love to milk the clock. Thoughts on that opening drive that ended with the tutty there? Derrick Henry, first touchdown score of the 2024 season.
Yeah, honestly, the drive did not look all that promising starting off, and then the Chiefs seemed to kind of let us slip by with a little dump off to Hill that he was able to tiptoe the sideline, and we kind of put something together there, made a couple chunk plays in their territory and punch it in by just kind of letting the Lamar and Derrick Henry show play out. But as you were talking about that, I had to restrain myself from stopping you or interrupting you about the whole point of emphasis thing.
Yeah.
Why is that a point of emphasis? Think about why the league does any of these points of emphasis, and typically it's, hey, we want the receivers to be able to run a little more freely and create more offense, or there's supposed to be some sort of byproduct by that. Who is asking for illegal formation to get cleaned up? Nobody's asking for that. For what purpose? For what benefit?
Because it's gotten egregious. The Lane Johnsons, the Jawan Taylors, some of these tackles are so far back. They are sitting next to the quarterback. So how can you win inside? Then they make you go outside, and then that takes all the fun out of it.
That was really fun.
But I wish it would have been called. They called one on Jawan Taylor. He was doing it immediately.
It flies in the face of the whole we got to protect the quarterback, and
I do agree.
It's to throw the defensive bone. Sure, I get it.
I like it, but it is. You are
the most fun part about it is the game gets delayed till 8:45. The entire country is waiting for the return of the NFL. There's 25 million people watching, and then there's a call that 90% of people have no idea is coming on the first.
Sean Hockley just tap dancing all over the broadcast. I mean, he was getting his contractually obligated TV time tonight. Good for him.
Collins was like, well, Mike, we got it. Let's take a look at where the tackles with the center, and they're like, NBC, it has to come into the in play 90 seconds into the league season. It's just incredible. I could not believe that's how it started. And look, enforce it, and I'm sure everyone will figure it out and whatever. But what a stunning start to the NFL season. That it's just we're just watching Ronnie Stanley get called for a penalty.
So it went the second play of the game, illegal formation. Then it was the fifth play of the game, illegal formation. The sixth play of the game, illegal formation, which negated a pass interference. Then on the, I believe, 11th play of the game, Roquan Smyth horse collar, which was a little sussy. Yeah. And that got us into the second quarter. So it was, to your point, it was penalty, penalty. penalty.
8-man OPI.
We're like, okay.
I would love to have seen if the Chiefs had started the game on offense, if that was just going to be something the officials did and say, we're just going to call the hell out of this and just make this a thing. The entire league is watching. We're just calling this. Every team was good. Every team has somebody doing it, I'm sure.
There was a bunch of defensive ends and outside linebackers tweeting oh, we're eating good this year.
Mike Fran saying Stanley, I don't know if this is real, but Stanley said after the game the refs were making an example out of him. I feel like that's true. I feel like if the Chiefs had started with the ball, it probably would have been Jawan Taylor walking the plank, as it were, because I mean, it just felt like the refs came into that drive just, saying we're going to set the tone just like a defense or an offense, right? In offense, we're going to establish the run. We're going to set the tone. Defense, we're going to come downhill. We're going to set the tone. The refs set the tone tonight with those calls. And I think
Jake,
they would not have done that on the other side in that building. For what
I would
worth.
agree with that.
Zaribek
Zaribek said, Ronnie Stanley said he felt the refs were trying to make an example out of him with the illegal formation calls, said it was not called the way the teams were told it would be called when the refs were at training camp practices.
Okay. All right. Spicy. Yeah. I mean, the refs were a big story in this game. Obviously, the Ravens committed a few more penalties. I think it ultimately kind of comes out in the wash. But yeah, I think you're right. There's probably a little bit of home cooking. You're in that environment. You're not going to call it that way. But ultimately, it's just one of these things you're going to have to overcome. I have complained about the refs incessantly over the years. I'll continue to reserve my right to do so. But when we hop into these, shows, I feel like a lot of the time it does devolve into that a little bit. And we do need to get our feelings out about it. But at the same time, it's just one of these things that you're just going to have to deal with. And the points of emphasis are always way stronger earlier in the year. So I think, like you said, hopefully it will kind of get figured out over the course of the year.
Yeah, and it's not it was like a total ref show all against the Ravens. I mean, the Roquan Smyth push out of bounds is a personal foul like every single day of the week. So
you expect that to get called for Mahomes 100 out of 100.
100 out of 100. I couldn't believe there wasn't a flag. And I couldn't even believe Roquan tried to sell it that he didn't commit the penalty. He would threw his arms up like Mahomes flopped. It's you pushed him when he was on the way. I was stunned that wasn't a penalty.
He touched Mahomes as Mahomes was already out of bounds. It's not even a push. It's just if you're touching Mahomes out of bounds, they're going to throw a fucking flag.
That was also after the Matabike roughing the passer, which I think was a little suspect. Some people, I think our friend Spencer was pointing out that he got him with the arm. Okay. I just still if you want to say it's called correctly, fine. I just think it's roughing the passer is just way overcalled. And you, Spenny, you wouldn't talk about refs. Gentle Spen Crenshaw has some hot takes about the way holding is called these days.
Kyle Hamilton, there's a big play. Kyle offsetting penalties on that personal foul. Kyle Hamilton, they said that I think Rashee Rice held him. Rashee Rice didn't even use his hands. Rashee Rice didn't even see Kyle Hamilton on the play.
Hamilton leaned into it. Yeah.
Holding is so out of control. I'm fully committed. I want it to not be
Linderbaum, same thing on the long Lamar scramble. They called that one back.
Wasn't close to being a hold.
Oh my gosh,
the one that goes against the receiver and Hamilton. It's what the fuck?
The one hold on
it's almost just it's kind of like a reaction of the guy getting held call as opposed to what the actual act is from the person doing the holding.
It's flopping in soccer. If you sell it,
looks like something happens, the ref just sort of sees it. I don't know. It is definitely out of control.
Yeah. Yeah, it's out of control. I mean, it's all out of control. It's all part and parcel with just the overall discussion that I always have that the NFL rule book should be 5 pages, and we just need to it's like the tax law, Brian. I know you love this analogy. Just pare it all down. Just make it simple. Just let's stop with the chicanery here. But ultimately, I don't know if it necessarily made the difference in this one. I just think the Chiefs. Better overall team right now. They looked crisper. They did what they had to do. They didn't necessarily blow me away. They just looked like the Chiefs, right? They looked like the Chiefs have looked for the last couple of years. Nothing super impressive. Patrick Mahomes did throw an interception to Roquan Smyth, which I don't want that to get forgotten about either, because that was after a missed field goal by Justin Tucker. Another miss outside of the 50 there from JT. I know Brian doesn't like that. I think 1 for his last 6 now on 50-plus yarders. That's starting to turn into a little bit of a concern there. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, just a thrilling game. Well played by both sides. I think the Chiefs played better on their side. I think Lamar Jackson played better than Mahomes. And here we are. Here we are, guys. Once again, NFL's back. Football's back, baby. Don't you just love it?
I do.
I also do.
It was incredible.
We're going to pummel the Raiders next week. It's going to be an absolute pummeling, and I'll feel better once we do that. I've thought about that for months. This game tonight, I was always going to dread it. And then that was just the perfect game for a home opener for us to just run train. And then I could move on. I just move on and fully embrace the 2025 season.
I said on the preview that this was kind of like your college football week 0 game. You get out there, maybe, and obviously every single person on the planet was watching this, but some of those week 0 games, you just get them out of the way, you forget about them, then you move on and you get your week 1. I think Raiders is kind of going to be the Ravens week 1 here, especially considering that they don't play starters in the preseason much anymore. Guys didn't practice together nearly as much. This was Tyler Linderbaum's first extended action, all summer. So I thought he looked solid. Offensive line, I think we should probably get into that a little bit. pretty touch and go there. And I think ultimately, like the way it was constructed, it's what you expected. We didn't even know the starting lineup going into this game. So it wound up being Stanley, Voorhees at left guard, Linderbaum at center, obviously, Falele at right guard. They started the game with McCary at right tackle. They worked in Rosengarten on a few plays. I think the first one they put him in for wound up being the strip sack where him and Falele were just puttering and billowing around, and then Chris Jones just comes in and just puts Lamar Jackson in a multicolored clown suit. They recover the fumble. They get the 3 points there, which wound up obviously being pretty critical in this game. So yeah, offensive line. I mean, Spenny, what were your thoughts? For me, it's just kind of pretty much what I expected. I was honestly relatively encouraged with the way that it felt like they were able to scheme around it a little bit, and Lamar Jackson was able to move around a little bit. And I feel like Lamar's the leader of this team now. He's going to have to make up for some things. And I think that's one area that if tonight is any indication, he's going to be able to.
Chris Jones is like so good. He is not that good. He is not that. He's not Aaron Donald. And he was fucking whooping Falele and whooping Rosengarten, destroying them like they didn't have a clue. Rosengarten, the amount of times I saw Rosengarten with his back turned to the line of scrimmage, just running after, was very discouraging. Just from a pure visual standpoint. They figured it out, whatever. At the end of the game, they started doing some stuff. I don't know. I'm getting in little Twitter fights about it. They have Justice Hill on Chris Jones, which to me looked intentional. They're sliding away from Chris Jones. Kind of reminds me of that 2-point play against the Steelers a couple years ago. They just ran an option, a little pass at TJ Watt because they're like, hey, if he's the devil I know where he's going to be. He can't hurt me. They fucked that play up, but ended up working there. So I was definitely discouraged from that standpoint. Did see a couple little Collinsworth talking about something else. They pull a quick highlight, and Falele didn't look as bad in some of the portions as the game settled in. And again, his first ever start playing any realm of football that mattered, that wasn't an exhibition game at right guard. So we'll see. But I like to roll with McCary for a little bit. Stop the rotational stuff for now. Work it in a couple weeks. Like, he's a rookie. It's okay. Rookie offensive linemen aren't good. I don't know. We'll go back. Voorhees, I didn't think about him once, which means he probably had a 68 PFF grade or better. Stanley, I don't know. We didn't think about him outside of the penalties, and for how much he struggled with the injuries and things, fantastic. So it's going to be a work in progress. We knew that. We've talked about it. Everyone who covers the Ravens thinks about the Ravens, is a fan of the Ravens, cares about football and the Ravens, talks about the offensive line. They're probably going to have some struggles. We saw that manifest. They managed to negate it late and make some plays. Zay Flowers, interesting throughout this game. The screen stuff, all right. They did the same thing last year against the Texans they opened with, and they're forcing him the ball a lot in the same kind of situations. I get it. The pressure coming in. They didn't trust their offensive line. Sure. Who would have thought at the end of the game that the three leading receivers in order are Isaiah Likely going for 100 yards, Rashad Bateman, and Justice Hill for the Ravens? That was quite interesting. Likely, such a bright spot. The sack, the balls, the cojones, the chutzpah on that guy to get the wind knocked out of him, hurt his shoulder, come right back in the game, and then be, a molecule from a Tony toe tap to tie the game and maybe go win the game there, I thought was awesome. The dude is a dog. He has dog in him. Even just when the little flips they were doing in the 2-minute drill and the 87-yard drive leading up to that point, every time he made contact with a DB, the DB's like back was folding in. Like, he is strong physically. You can see
the blocking in the run game too. He laid that one guy out on the Lamar run. I think on that spot. That was very yeah.
So he's a physically imposing dude. I think that the Ravens have to feel spectacular there. Andrews, we'll see. Looked a little sloppy tonight. The car accident, all those things. I was expecting him to have a big night tonight. I'm not going to lie. Thought he would look a little sharper. Kind of looked like he maybe thought he had a first down on his second catch, the first one that wasn't called back, and he just kind of fell down. Looked like I'm at the line to gain.
That was a little bit like Don Baylor when he caught that first pitch and his leg just kind of broke on him. Like, he just kind of looked like a wounded calf.
It kind of, I hate to bring this up. It was kind of Pitta vibes when he caught that one against the Browns, and then that was just
I didn't want to go there, but it was a little like, he doesn't have it.
A lot of reports out of camp before that car accident were that he was absolutely tearing the club up. So we'll see. Maybe the guy's just he was winded. He looked out of shape. He was winded, very, very winded. I mean, it's week one. Everyone
he is a diabetic. Like, we can't forget that. Like, he is not playing he's not, playing by the same rules that everybody else is biologically. So give him some time. And you mentioned the car accident. Like,
I'm willing to give him time, but also I don't really care. Get into shape here. Let's go, Mark. Come on.
Yeah.
He's a competitor.
Well, did you see those workout montages that the broadcast had going? I mean, he was looking pretty svelte in those. So, they're on top of the story. NBC at all times. NBC at Skycam, brought to you by Walmart Plus. Likely 9 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown, long of 49. That 49-yarder, I mean, that was like
reminiscent of what he did against the Dolphins on that 4th down. I mean, the guy has spectacular in his blood after the catch, during the catch, the catch. He's got star power.
He does. I mean, that was and that really, the game has totally gotten away from them by that point. And if Lamar doesn't make that, kind of tremendous play to scramble away from pressure and then just loft it up there where kind of only he can go up and make a play on it. And then, like you said, the chutzpah to just rumble after the catch. It kept them in this game. And that's what I'm talking about with this top end star power, going to be able to keep them in these games. You do want to see some more from this receiving core. The next leading receiver in terms of yardage was Rashad Bateman with his 2 catches on 5 targets, 53 yards. Justice Hill right behind him with 52 on 6 catches. And then Zay Flowers.
We're not going to skate by that Rashad Bateman catch there. We're not going to skate by that boy.
We absolutely
on this podcast. We're not going to skate by Rashad Bateman.
Okay, then let's talk about it. It felt reminiscent of the likely play a little bit, where Lamar's kind of dancing around, keeping his eyes downfield, loads one up and fires it. It escapes me who was in the coverage on that one, but nice catch to jump up there and then complete it all the way through, which is very big for a receiver, which has had some trouble making the routine plays, and then he makes kind of big plays look a little more routine. I think this was more the latter in that case. Awesome job by Bateman there, and that is very encouraging.
100%. Big takeaway here. I'm going to go drastic. The usage of Derrick Henry did not look different from Gus Edwards, and I don't like that. I would like to see Derrick Henry being used in more spread looks. Could be matchup, could be, Monken wanting to get the Chiefs in certain looks. Sure, we'll go look at it later, but looked a lot of like what we saw Gus Edwards being utilized in that way. Should Henry be a little better? Sure, but what made me so excited when they signed Derrick Henry was it doesn't need to be 11 personnel. It can be with Ricard on the field, but spread the field out. Have the receivers go wide, have somebody in the slot go wide, a motion somewhere. Spread the defense laterally so Derrick Henry can get going. I don't care if it's under center. I don't care if it's shotgun. I don't care if it's pistol. Didn't see that tonight. Little discouraged about that. Hopefully that's a work in progress.
It felt like they were super tight. You could break this down much better than I could, but it felt like they just went super tight every time he was on the field, and the Chiefs just knew that they were coming between the tackles every single time. And he had a couple nice ones where he converted that 3rd down, actually, where he powered through contact, and that's exactly what you get from him. But it did feel a little bit predictable as far as the usage went, and I think people were kind of getting a little hot in the pants about the fact that his usage wasn't super high. I just don't think the game script necessarily allowed for it. And I think that's sort of what you get when you get behind the 8 ball a little bit in these types of games.
Definitely. And even just, I saw a fantasy football tweet. It said in wins, Derrick Henry averages in games his team wins, the Titans, he averages 22 fantasy points, and losses 13 points. You're not going under center running the ball when you're down 2 scores in Kansas City as much. So I know people wanted to. The Ravens kind of did too. But yeah, Lamar Jackson just kind of made it his show, and it worked. I mean, for the most part, especially in the second half, and took 1 sack in this game. And it was early. It was the strip sack. That was silly, stupid, bad. Could he have had 2 hands on the ball? You're rootin' tootin'. I'm watching Hard Knocks. Caleb Williams, guy has 2 hands glued to the fucking football. Just not going to be Lamar Jackson ever.
He's trying to show off the nail polish.
Joey Flacco was never a 2 hands football guy either. He was holding that piggy pretty loose back there as well. But Lamar managed the pocket really fucking well tonight. We're going to go back and look at that with the tape a little bit more, but he knew his limitations with this line. Ball was coming out, or he was fucking running, or he was, he had a awareness of his mortality in the pocket as much as we've really ever seen. It manifested into a lot of rushing yards on scrambles, and everyone, is this sustainable? I already see this. Is this sustainable? He's taking a. He wanted to beat the fucking Chiefs. All right, he's not going to do it against the Raiders as much. Like, he wanted to beat the Chiefs. He wants to.
His decision making in those situations was pretty impeccable the entire night. And I think you make the right point, Spenny. Like, that's a statement type of game. Like, you're going to make some plays that you're not going to make the next 6 to 8 weeks in that game to try to one up the Chiefs heading into the rest of the season. Like, that's the measuring stick. So, And by the way, if he wasn't taking hits and was trying to get out of bounds and save himself, people were like, why are we not trying to beat the fucking Chiefs? He can't win no matter
And
what.
again, it comes back to game flow and game script. He got a feel for what the offensive line was doing. He realized pretty quickly, I'm going to have to dance around a little bit. Like, I'm going to have to take it. I'm going to have to dart my eyes around. I'm going to have a feel for what's going on behind me and around me. And he got that feel pretty quick. And once he got into that rhythm, it was, a pretty impressive show. So
like
yeah,
the last play there, obviously it's not a touchdown, but drops back, steps up, circles around, steps back up, and then puts that in a place where only likely can catch the ball. I mean, that's an amazing play. And if it's 1 millimeter, I just, the guy, this is eventually going to go right for this guy when this happens in the playoffs. But I mean, the conjecture from people that, at least in my life, that are coming at me about Lamar half the time, I'm like, dude, this guy is just special. I feel like there's, say the same things every year, but
we're gonna wake up and there's gonna be Nick Wright on whatever stupid fucking show that he does now, and all these talking heads wearing their suits and ties. That one guy with the ridiculous haircut and the clown suit that he had on the other couple weeks ago. At this point, I forget who it was. They're gonna look into the camera and talk very clearly and precisely and directly about how Lamar Jackson can't beat the Chiefs and can't do this and can't do that. Then you'll have your Twitter trolls, your Jarrett Baileys, all these people that are just going to talk about how Lamar Jackson isn't even like good or great. And like, if you watch that game and that's your takeaway, you're just not a ball knower. Brian, what do you got on that?
I mean, we've been fighting this fight for years and years and years. It's just same old shit. Like, I've just lost. I've become numb to it pretty much. It's how much more does the guy have to do? And it's almost like he creates so many plays that would never even come close to existing. And so many times it results in something good. But when it doesn't, it's so memorable that it just burns into people's brains and people only remember that. I mean, there was a play, gosh, who did he hit with that throw? There was a play where I think it was Bateman's other catch. How many catches did he have tonight?
Just 2.
Yeah, so the first one was just the most routine quarterback throw ever. And the way he zipped that thing is like a 15-yard in, I want to say, was fucking sexy. Like, you get Joe Flacco throwing that ball and everybody's just drooling over him just throwing a dot. And nobody pays attention.
Speaking of the pundits weighing in.
Uncle Skip.
Oh, Skip, that's our guy.
Yep. No, for the podcast listeners.
To your point, Brian, exactly. The arm talent, the arm slots, the coolness, and the way it looks different.
Like nobody thinks about the routine plays he does make because everyone's so wowed and it becomes the memories when you look back and reflect on a game. It's like he makes so many of those routine throws during a game too that like another quarterback is only getting off so many plays in a given game, and that's all he's got, and it's just that. And Lamar's bringing all these other things to the table.
He makes the good plays for other quarterbacks, for the most part, look boring in his game because his wow is unique, special, different. And to your point, when it goes wrong, it looks so much different from Carson Palmer. Like Carson Palmer wasn't attempting half of this different.
Exactly. It's emblematic of how different the NFL is than when in Carson Palmer's prime, right? Where you've got these statuesque pocket passers, right? All these guys, to an extent, are capable of doing this now, but they're not capable of doing it to the extent that he can. And my comparison for him, in some ways, weirdly, has always been Matthew Stafford, right? Like he throwing from weird angles, moving around a little bit. Obviously, Stafford doesn't have the elusiveness or the speed or anything like that, but as a passer, he's doing sidearm stuff. He's slotting it. He's just making the spectacular look routine, and his routine.
Stafford also has never really fit the mold of everyone else. He's never been the same as everyone else. I don't know.
Yeah, he's
very different than Lamar, but yeah, he's not just kind of cookie cutter.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of like he's sort of just in his own box, and people are just. I think some people don't know what to make of it. I think some people had preconceived notions about him 10 years ago at this point that they're just not willing to move off of. So it kind of is what it is. But ultimately, I think we're all for walking away from that game. And I think most rational people with 2 eyes are walking away from that game pretty impressed with what they saw. So
in career situation, he might be pre-majors win Xander. You can't.
Wow.
You can't really do anything.
Brian just got tickled by that.
You can't really do anything that will prove it to anybody until you win the big one. You've done everything else.
I'm more impressed that he made
else
this
well
about
so
Xander in some way.
I mean, this is Taylor. This is Taylor Smyth Central right now. I mean, working in a Xander Schauffele take. I honestly kind of don't hate it. Because I was the exact same way with Xander going into this year. Not to turn this into a golf podcast, but I was one of those people that was like, yeah, he's great. Show it to me in a major. And you know what? God damn it, he finally did it this year.
Figured out how to get a little more ball speed, baby.
Might be a little more Phil Mickelson, like guy who just creates magic and is a little eccentric and just
took him a while. Yeah. Took him a while to get that first
win. I got the Xander in there just to make the smiles happen that happened. But like the issue for Lamar ultimately is that these games only matter so much because he's gotten to the point that is every athlete's worst nightmare. That is like, see you in January, like see you in the play. He's in that spot now.
Indeed.
And that's right for a while. That spot sucks to be in. And he's been in it for a while.
It's honestly like Josh Allen right now too, right? Like
he couldn't have done much tonight that would have turned anyone's opinion away. Yeah, like
we're just in that conjecture. We're just in that conjecture point now, and so like we can all be excited about it, and it kind of is what it is. But it's just
I refuse to be lost in that conjecture. I refuse to let the spin move that he did on the right sideline in Week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs go to waste. I refuse to let that go to waste.
I completely let it go to waste because I was just wowed by the likely block. Like.
Yeah,
those were spectacular. So, and that's what, and I guess that's the frustrating part of this game is I make so many noises with my mouth there. They made so many spectacular plays. The Chiefs just fucking walked into a couple touchdowns, and the Ravens made so many high skill, high talent plays, but they just didn't find themselves walking into enough touchdowns like the Chiefs did. And that's why that fucking blown coverage,
real Mark Andrews
that blown coverage, that's what I'm going to think about.
So let's get into the defensive side of the ball then. So Zack Orr's debut effort, what is he, 31 years old as a coordinator?
32 years old. He is the youngest defensive coordinator in football. David Ajabo comes on, gets involved here. Looked like he was communicating a lot at the line of scrimmage. He was setting the front gap-wise a lot. He is very much in tune with his playbook, with the responsibilities of the front based off that. Trenton Simpson made 2 high skill plays in this one, jumps to save the game and bats a ball down late. Also,
not to cut you off, Collinsworth slobbered over Mahomes, and like that was a great play, but that play by Simpson's an incredible play.
Yeah,
and great job, Patrick Mahomes. You went up and caught the ball, but it just that got lost in that moment on the broadcast.
He goes into his like thing about as the replays firing up, and he's like, "This is just an incredible play and I completely expected him to say Trenton Simpson, and he said Mahomes, and I was like, all right, man.
It reminds me of 2018 when Mosley picked off Baker Mayfield to win the division. Romo immediately, well, you guys got to understand, this is actually a great throw by Mayfield. He just completely slobbers all over the broadcast of this massive moment. That's a total non sequitur, but that's just what that reminded me of. Tough job by Collinsworth in that moment.
I don't get that upset about that stuff a lot of the time, but that was crazy to me. I was like, good job. You went up there and won a whatever. Go ahead, Spenny.
They're good. Otherwise on this defense, Trenton Simpson, Roquan Smith gets roasted by Rashee Rice. Malik Harrison gets roasted by Rashee Rice. That was really the only thing that it felt like the Chiefs took advantage of.
So were they just knowing that the Ravens were going to come out in that package and just spamming that?
The Ravens were just playing base zone, probably cover 4 palms, cover 2, and then he was just hitting Rashee Rice between those zones in stride. Like it looks like man because when they're in your zone, it's your man. You're supposed to engage with them. But the reason you're doing that is because you don't want any shots over your head. They didn't let up any shots over their head except for the fucking blown coverage that is the whole reason you're on that defense. So that's why I'm going to keep being pissed about that blown coverage. On the Malik, all these tweets, Malik Harrison, why the fuck is Malik Harrison on the field? They didn't score They didn't score on that drive. They were keeping a cap on them. And what you live with is Pacheco having a 14-yard reception, Rashee Rice having a 21-yard reception, Kelsey running an 8-yard out route. They weren't getting the ball thrown over their heads. No one wants to let Mahomes do that. They didn't, except for that fucking blown coverage. And that's why that was so disheartening to me. So I'll go back. We'll look at those. But Trenton Simpson made a great play on one of them, and he looked pretty cool in this one.
Blown coverages and the 2 timeouts in the half on defense. You talked about the communication with Ojabo. It looked like Roquan was active as always. Is this kind of a thing to watch now with Zack Orr? Is it kind of a new coordinator coming in, a couple new players out there, some young players? Is that something to watch going forward?
I mean, it always is on any team that ever has that situation. Every year in varsity football, you lose a couple guys, you have a new coach, shit changes, life goes on, times change. But I liked what I saw very much so. They stopped the run really well. The Chiefs started to get some misdirection kind of working a little bit. They still limited it a ton. Travis Jones was badass in this one. He pushed the pocket a couple times. He chased down a couple screens. I thought Owe, Ojabo, those guys definitely put pressure. Matabike clocked Mahomes like we talked about. They roughed him up a little bit. They got some hits on him. They batted some balls. He threw a really sketchy low pass blind with his head turned the other way too, that someone could have been just standing there. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. So they had Mahomes kind of reeling a little bit. And they got a stop late, right? They got the stop, then they had the blown coverage, and they got some stops. And I was overall impressed. I saw first half they only blitzed on 1 out of 16 dropbacks, which is the lowest rate of blitzing, meaning just simply sending 5 or more rushers since 2018 for the Ravens. So they were, that's my fault. What do you always say about Tom Brady? If you blitz him, he's going to fucking dice you up. Mahomes was really clean operationally, so I was happy to see that. They're stunting, generating pressure. We did not hear Brandon Stevens' name really called. He got kind of beat across the face on Mahomes made one nice play on the scramble drill, happened to Kelsey, I think, and Brandon Stevens couldn't quite stick with him. I think it was Stevens. But we also saw the one-arm man, Marcus Williams, and Ardarius Washington, both making plays at the rim, stuffing, going full Rudy Gobert there. Just kidding. He never does that anymore.
Juju Smith-Schuster, what a disgrace. How is that guy still in?
Yeah.
He got away with a nice little downfield block, which is the Andy Reid special. Running screens, but the receivers are blocking fucking 6 yards downfield. And then they call it on Rashad Bateman. Abolish penalties. That's my take from this game.
The tough one on the Brandon Stevens Kelsey play too is you feel like Owe potentially has a chance for the sack there, and they just couldn't get him down on that play.
Yeah, third
slippery little chicken back there.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it in my head as we're going through the game. I was like, what is more infuriating for Ravens fans watching Mahomes do the little slippery and then throws it 30 yards down the field, or is it Chiefs fans watching Lamar just consistently, break off like 12 to 20-yard runs after, evading multiple rushers?
Owe also absolutely destroyed Mahomes, but Mahomes had just gotten the ball out as well, I think, on a 3rd and long maybe. So we'll see. It's tough. The guy's fucking evasive, but 2 sacks I think they finished with, and that was the most sacks Mahomes has taken in a season opener.
7 QB hits, 2 sacks. I mean, that's like as impressive. Like, you don't see him ever get shut down. I think the only time I've ever seen him totally shut down was that Super Bowl against the Bucs. It just doesn't happen. He is so hard to bring down.
Yep.
So I was impressed overall. I was impressed by Zack Orr's defense. The reverse to Worthy early in the game was undisciplined football. I would imagine. I mean, you don't call defense in preparation of them running a reverse. It's not how you do anything in football, but just wasn't physical. Kyle Hamilton getting run over. Looked like Marlon Humphrey kind of just like shot his hands out to try and like hold the edge, but it's like just fucking try to make a play. I don't know. So I wasn't really impressed with the physicality on there. And again, they took advantage of the linebackers a little bit, but really just the one, I thought they played great except for that one blown coverage. Them getting the stop after the strip sack was huge. And I think that was the Marcus Williams rejection at the goal line there.
It was.
A lot of physical football in this one. It was a really physical game on both sides. And I was impressed. And I think playing Andy Reid in your first game as a 32-year-old defensive play caller, and the worst thing that happens is your fucking 8th-year corner blows a coverage with some stupid miscommunication that shouldn't have happened. Like, that's fine. I'm very fine with that performance overall. And I don't know, man. Roquan Smith he's playing some old school football. He's talking shit. He's telling people he's going to kill them and whatever the hell he's doing on the field. He was going nuts there. So that was fun. I enjoyed watching it very much. So
it was very fun to watch.
He might hate this franchise more than I do. I mean, like, and that is saying something. This guy has a blood vendetta with some of these dudes, including this, anonymous whatever jag that wasn't even suited up tonight, who might actually want to lock the doors tonight.
I've got a really good piece for you that one Patrick Lavon Mahomes the second.
2. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes too.
His advice for Isaiah Likely after the game: wear white cleats.
That's a good call. I mean, hey, he might be onto something there. Might be onto something. Yeah, little bathe yourself and stick him.
We've got a full
thanks for that,
Skip
Pat.
Bayless video coming out here that's just labeled Lamar Ultimate Baller, and it's just him and his kids.
Well, Skip is unshackled now. I saw some quotes about him coming out and talking about how he's not being ruled over by egomaniac bosses anymore. Pretty exciting stuff.
Box.
Yeah,
he's in the tight black shirt. Here we go.
The media scape. Yeah, we're excited with Uncle Skip now. Oh wow, that is I am looking at the thumbnail of this video, and it's Skip who, he doesn't look like old, but like his face is a little more drawn back and the tight shirts are fitting weird. He just looks like an old guy who works out too much. Like, you don't want an old guy who like works out way too much and is like way too tan. You always see those guys in like Miami or Vegas or whatever it is, and they have like a way too young girlfriend. Obviously nothing's going to happen with their nesting, God forbid, but I don't know. Skip is just in an interesting spot right now. Can't wait to get off here and watch that video.
I'm watching it on mute and it's kind of riveting. Skip.
Broadcast takes, Taylor. You watch any of the pregame? I was watching some of the pregame and I was nauseated.
No, I gotta be honest. I was watching Emma Navarro and Sabalenka in the U.S. Open semis, so I did not take part in a lot. Let me tell you what. Both times, like 2 of the 4 times I turned to the pregame was when Chris Sims was with Mahomes, because they like replayed the interview I think later because they had to fill time and they did it early, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch tennis. So
I've absolutely fallen in love with Emma Navarro too. What a peak she is.
Yeah, she is. She's got maybe one of the chillest people in the history of the planet. By the way, awesome stuff for the U.S. that the 2 remaining women in the field for them were both daughters of billionaires. You got to love those rags to riches stories.
Yeah, shout out to Tim.
But I like both of them though.
Yeah.
Broadcast takes. No, I mean, it's when NBC comes on to like open the season and you're right into Jason Garrett, like that kind of shuts you down a little bit. Just faking the smile. I don't know. Tirico and Collinsworth are Tirico and Collinsworth. They're fine. Collinsworth does
Tirico's always good for a random dictionary word pull or phrase that no one's ever heard before.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
He's also big on like throwing the little.
Tirico felt like he had a little like mid-season form coming off the Olympics. He had a little pep in his step tonight, I thought.
He's always got the quirky little comments too, like when they were showing Carson Steele's alligator, and he's like, "I understand he's a big Chris Collinsworth fan," and like they have a couple little 2-second lift back. Like I think Collinsworth doesn't totally know what to do with that stuff sometimes, but they're starting to gel. It's been a couple years now.
Yeah, and Collinsworth like always pisses everybody off. I really think he's like mostly harmless.
I like him
as an analyst. Like I don't understand why everybody gets so upset at him. Like maybe he's just generally annoying or people think he's biased. And the Trenton Simpson thing I thought was a huge miss by him. But I think he breaks the game down pretty well. I don't know. No, NBC does a good job. NBC, he is right. And Collinsworth like praised their camera work.
The Sky Cam brought to you by Walmart Plus.
Like where he's like the Ravens wish the NBC cameras weren't as good. They really the production they do is so good. They really do an incredible job there. I know we're getting like deep in the weeds on broadcast, but they really don't miss shots. And they're just very good. That's just been a well-machine for a while.
Out of the gates early too with the Here's a guy. Derrick Henry there lined up in the pistol, I think, now and just zoomed right in on his back. Now here's a guy who's 250 pounds, and it's like, yeah, Chris, we know he's a big.
The one.
Can I tell you what I can't believe?
The 250 pounds thing.
Yeah,
Romo was so good early on. Like I much rather listen to Collinsworth right now than Romo.
Yeah,
like Romo is so all over the place now, which is kind of sad. And he's gone hard on cliches now because I think he's like neutered the like stuff that made him great early. Like Collinsworth's a much easier listen than Romo at this point, which kind of stinks because I did really like Romo early.
I wonder, are they? I do wonder if they're going to get any Brady games. I'm really interested to see Brady.
Yeah, me too. Because they're going to Brady and they had Greg Olsen, who I thought was really good in the number 1 analyst.
So Brady's Fox 1, right?
Yeah, he's the Fox A team.
Burkhardt, yeah. And I thought Burkhardt and
maybe Cowboys game.
Oh, that'll be
425.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be America's game of the week. 425. There we go. Brady week 3.
Yeah. Hope he doesn't disparage his fellow owner there and Uncle Jerry.
I was a little sad that I wasn't going to the Jerry World game. I've kind of been eyeing that one up. Maybe I'll make the trip, but now I'm like, oh, Brady's a little kicker for me there.
We gotta do that together. I've never been there. That's kind of our
cool.
second team, so we'll have to make a date out of that.
We certainly will. Isaiah Likely, a superstar. Lamar Jackson, the best baller. Is that what Skip said? The best baller.
Best baller.
Best baller in all caps.
The best
best
baller.
baller.
Justice Hill, very nice game. Trenton Simpson looked pretty rocking and rolling. A couple things to work on here. Offensive line, probably going to see incrementally better, but still bad for a little while. I don't know, man. Want to see Derrick Henry get rolling in a winning game?
I don't want to do this. I'm going to do this in week 1. I really shouldn't. Is there likelihood of an offensive line related trade this season?
I had in my preseason sort of notes, I do expect they will make a trade at some point for kind of a mid-level player. And I think even a mid-level player would probably help you maybe solidify things. Like, you're probably not going to get a Kevin Zeitler type talent, but if you can get somewhere 80-20 to that, that you'd be in good shape. So, if some of these teams start to take a turn for the worse and they have kind of a veteran contract that they can absorb, they cleared some space up. They're at about $9.5 million, which is pretty much just operational cap space. So maybe you'd have to get even a little more creative, but yeah, it wouldn't totally shock me. It has only been one game, to your point, though.
I don't think so. Offensive linemen, especially tackles, are secretly worth their weight in gold. I don't know. The Ravens hate them.
No doubt. I mean, you're not going to find anybody that unbelievable, but I'm interested to see what they do.
I'm sure they could sign someone. We'll see. But yeah, I don't think so. I mean, rookies stink. Voorhees is virtually a rookie. Falele's never played guard. Rosengarten's getting in there. He'll be better. Even if Rosengarten stinks and is never good, hypothetically, he'll be way better in October than he is today, and December than he is today. So
no doubt.
This is what it is. I don't know. A lot of downtime. We got a full slate ahead. We got football tomorrow. We got college football. If you complain about the college football slate, slap yourself in the face. We just got started.
Great slate.
Good college football. Texas, Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. I saw some folks saying there's only 2 top 25 matchups.
The Cyhawk series at 3:30.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you.
I mean, I will.
Texas is going to roll on Michigan.
I agree with that. I
by the way, we haven't said our proper congratulations to Uncle Taylor Smyth, who is officially moving out of the college football digital media space in some capacity. Not going to be working for a team anymore. So congratulations on your new gig, which I'm not sure how much you want to get into it, but I'm excited to see some unfiltered Taylor Smyth college football takes. Maybe tweeting out that Billy Edwards is the best baller in college football.
Dude, Billy, I love Billy. I love Billy. The Terps are pretty good. It's kind of if all factors were not at play, that maybe want to move on to this awesome opportunity. Shout out to my guy Sean Ellenby and what they're doing over there in Chicago. But you're also going to get a Central Time Taylor here coming up in about a month. So
yeah, that's a good time zone.
Yeah. Terps are good. We were texting about it. We were texting about it late night last Saturday, and everyone was high on the Terps in the group chat. I love to see that. So we'll see. They're 9-point favorites over Michigan State this weekend. So, yeah, cannot wait to get some unfiltered college football takes. I love me some college football.
Michigan State, too, by the way. I'd be remiss if I didn't throw out a rest in peace to my guy, Rich Homie Quan. Passed away sadly today. Type of way, that transports me back to a time and place in my college years. So rest in peace, Rich Homie Quan. What a fun Michigan State team that was, getting him in the mix.
Shout out to Rich Homie Quan.
Shout out to Taylor Smyth. Shout out to Rich Homie Quan.
Okay.
Shout out to the listeners, man. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We're heading up on an hour here. We'll get into it a little deeper. We got some Eagles, Packers tomorrow night. I don't even have to make plans anymore. I just have football on every day. It's amazing.
Shout out to all our Philadelphia and Green Bay area high school parents having to make that decision tomorrow night. I don't envy you for any people that want to get out.
Yeah. The NFL always said they wouldn't go up against high school football. Money rules the world. High school football. Sorry about it. Is what it is. Banks, you have some familiarity up in that Wisconsin area. Do you think they're going to have some tough decisions up there?
I mean, the Packers are life. I mean, the entire state probably canceled their high school football slate. That honestly is very possible.
They could play a 3:00 game.
Oh, that's the other thing too, is they very well could be playing at the mid to late afternoon game.
Yeah, 4:00. 4:00 high school game's over at 6:30 at the latest.
See what the Badgers. Do the Badgers play? Badgers are at 3:30 Saturday, so you can play Saturday night too.
They probably go out to the parking lot post game and tailgate in the high school parking lot and watch the game on.
I'm getting kind of jealous.
TVs. You think I'm kidding? This could very well be a thing.
I was going to say, if not, like there are going to be several hundred parents with their eyes just glued to the smartphones that they barely know how to use. Just keeping an eye on one game and an eye on another game.
Are you suggesting they're not adept with the technology up there?
Well, they're boomers and old Gen X. I think all those people are not adept with technology.
What a generational breakdown.
Yeah. I listen. If my parents are any indication, they'd be a little bit older, but I don't know. I'm not that confident. In,
you're the one who's getting old here. You're dating,
by the way. Oregon Boise State is a sneaky, really good game at 10 o'clock.
On the blue turf.
No, it's at Oregon.
Okay.
Big Ten stalwart.
Big Ten showdown there. Yeah, real nice stuff. Talk about money ruling the world.
We got our fingers crossed that Maryland Oregon late this year is going to be a big game.
We got Ashton Jeanty ready to roll through Bend there. Big time Boise State back. The best since Jay Ajayi, many are saying, to rock the Boise State blue.
And they've got the he's not starting, but they have the USC transfer, Malachi Nelson. He's not even starting there. So
Okay.
Another Big Ten school, Big Ten school, USC.
Absolutely. I think the moral. I think we can wrap it up here. An hour in. The moral. There's a lot of fun football left. This was fun football.
That's a great way to say it. This was very fun football, and like it takes
fun football. Oh my god, the toe. How you can't even be at the toe. It's just a toe. It's just a toe. Just a toe is the wrong way.
It's a game of inches. Old John Facenda NFL Films clips. You get that good music going. The autumn wind is a Raider. This is a game of inches. That's exactly.
Isaiah likely will never.
The little white shoe comment from Mahomes actually just digs at me.
Isaiah likely will never wear black
by him. Again. I think he knew how bad that was going to eat at me.
You think that was a personal attack on you?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, he's
not wearing black cleats. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I think Mahomes has got a lot going on.
Taylor Swift's got him in some Louboutin white cleats.
Are we going to talk about that?
Talk about Taylor Swift?
You have the floor.
I mean, look, she looked fantastic. That's so.
She looks good. She did look good.
And there you have it.
And can I say a broadcast take? NBC did not overdo the Taylor Swift thing at all.
Yeah, it helped. Kelsey was not super involved because he made his first catch, but
it was like they clearly could have showed her like more in the open and all the different things. And people need to get over it. She is gonna get shown during these games. Like, just it is going to happen. Like, even I'm sitting watching the game with my mom. She's like, "Are they gonna show Taylor Swift 100 times?" I'm like, "No, they're not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen." But no, I mean, the Ravens. I'm concerned when she's in the building. I mean, we haven't been able to beat her yet. So, it truly.
Many are saying there's a press release that was leaked that there's going to be a split in October.
I saw that.
Yeah, interesting stuff. It might have to dig into that a little bit more.
I mean, look,
money rules the world, does it not?
That is very true. No, I thought it was a not an overwhelming presence for Taylor tonight. But she looks great, and she's back in the U.S. touring in like a month there. So,
you know what I'm surprised by? We haven't. Our girl Steinfeld really is just not getting her pound of flesh here with this Josh Allen.
Shocked by that. Well, she's got to show up to the games, and she's not close to as big of a star as Taylor. But true. They went public on their Instagrams, and like it was not that big of a deal. I was shocked that it was not that big of a deal.
You know what? They're doing the right thing, and they're keeping it on the down low. That's their personal life. This is their professional lives. They both have a lot going on. Maybe we should
simply doesn't have the same star power.
No, it does not. But good for both of them. I like Josh Allen, and I like Haley Steinfeld.
I agree. I like both of those people.
Brian, don't jump. Do not jump.
Brian is just swimming.
Brian's also a big Brian's a big Haley Steinfeld and Taylor Swift guy.
Correct.
So he's
we're all pro Steinfeld on this pod, and Eric. I know he's a big Steinfeld.
I'm a big Gary Steinfeld guy.
Yeah. By the way, Eric just like doing the entire, enjoy. I'm on the first drive out there kind of. I mean, I could have put my life savings on that text being sent. And I would have cashed that one out.
Yeah, no, that's he's going to be getting a lot of mileage out of that this year because the Titans, I don't know if they're going to be like Super Bowl contenders. This feels like more of like a is Will Levis good type year. So
this is my last thing I'm going to say, and then it is nice to have the Ravens back, if only to break up the just kind of same consistent Orioles talk that has gone on for the last month and a half.
They've been stuck in Groundhog Day for months.
Yeah, and it's just nice to have something to break that up. I love that. It's nice to be able to say that we have a baseball team good enough to be stuck in that type of situation. So I'm not complaining about it, but I think I think it will level some things out for people that root for both teams. Obviously, we have a podcast co-host that does not do that, and his Titans are probably not going to be very good, so he's not going to be able to enjoy that, but we can enjoy that. So that's my last statement of the pod.
Agreed. Anybody got anything else? All done? Okay. Well, thank you, boys, for joining me, breaking down this first game. A very fun game. Disappointing result, of course, but I think we walk away encouraged. Brian, I'll pray for you and your soul. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be okay. We'll see.
Good luck at the member, Brian. Good luck at the Glen member.
Yes. When's that going down?
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. Oh, Sunday. So you're going to be out of pocket for Red Zone. You're not going to get any Scott Hansen action. I hate that. Oh, okay.
Depends how early that tea time is on Sunday.
Okay. So. Well, I'll be pulling for you. Godspeed. Good luck and Godspeed. Hit him straight. Take dead aim, as Corey Pavin's wife said back in the day. We're in your corner. Thank you, boys, for joining me. Thank you to everyone who hopped in here. Going strong at about 2,500 people right now. Thank you for everyone listening in after the fact on video on demand. Thank you to our great sponsors, Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Black Eyed Susan Spices, Fed Thrill Sunglasses, Clipper City Barber Company, everybody that's in the mix. We appreciate you all very much. It's going to be a fun year. If tonight was any indication, obviously hoping for a win the next time the boys trot them out there. But until then, we'll talk to you guys again very soon. Before we get you out of here, be sure to like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. Tell a friend about the Exit 52 Podcast Network. Follow us on social media at Exit 52 Podcast on X and on Instagram. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Brian at Barstool Banks. Taylor at Taylor Smyth 10. Spenny at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4 with 22 right there. And Eric at EDITTI 22. Thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you very, very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.